Welcome to the Flicks Picks and the Nitpicks, and I am your humble host, No 718, and we are going to get into this article. Came out about a year ago concerning how much Darkseid will actually cost. Now, let's be realistic. Before I even get into the article, it's gonna cost some money, because to get him rendered to the level where Thanos has been, it's going to cost some bread. So we already knew that was going to happen. Now, first, before we even get into it, for those that are just coming now, this is the Flicks Picks and the Nitpicks, and you are watching this one part of our channel where we discuss everything Zack Snyder's Justice League. On the road to Zack Snyder, hashtag release the Snyder Cut. This is where the fandom, this is where you will want to be at for fandom interest, fandom information. We're going to go through all the articles. I'm going to do my best to be as unbiased as possible, though you're all here at the road to the Snyder Cut. I still, first and foremost, above everything, just like good movies. I'm easily entertained. I'm not a movie snob. I go to the movies to have fun and enjoy a good film. But I am interested in great writing, great storytelling, and interesting perspectives. Hence why I like I'm interested in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I liked everything that Zack Snyder touched within the universe. And everything that came out during the time where he was pretty much at the head of it. Suicide Squad was a disappointment to me, but I still liked it. I really liked BVS. Everybody knows, if you've been on my channel before, Man of Steel is in my top, definitely my top 10 comic book movies ever made. I don't want to go too much into it. It's probably in my top 5. I think it's high quality film storytelling. Certain things, of course, we can nitpick about. You have the Flicks Picks and the Nitpicks, but still, I love that film. That being said, man, in the beginning of the Snyder Cut movement, man, we just wanted we were just interested in what story that we missed. What did Zack Snyder want to tell in his version? Then, as people started doing their personal investigation, the likes of which unbiased media decided not to do, but always talked downward about during the time, you had people from behind the scenes saying that they've seen the cut. People take that off the table. People take that off the table. Google Kevin Smith's podcast, where there was a woman that was part of Warner Brothers in the audience that said, "Look, I can't tell you too much. We've seen it." And they asked how good it was to her. She said, "Yo, it was." So she's seen a cut. There was another cut out there, and obviously an assembly cut before you go to put in the CGs. You break down your editing bay and you make the film. So people started looking into the history of Zack Snyder, knowing that he was notorious for shooting long storytelling and then tailoring it down. That's just how he was. Then people started exposing his process and piecing it together that a lot more was shot than we thought. Than people that worked with Zack Snyder was talking about it. This is something that media outlets never discuss. You have to Google Jay Oliva. Him going out there saying, "Hey, look," and arguing with other people like, "Look, I've worked with Zack. He shot what he wanted. I worked with him. I know what he did. I storyboard for him. Zack Snyder shot that." You know what I mean? And people will argue as if they knew better. Nah, it never happened, and never even discussed. At least for those that don't know, hey, Jay Oliva said something. So at least you don't think that, even if you believe that the Snyder Cut fans were running off like you know what I mean, in their own ass, if you will. They weren't pulling this out their ass. there were reason to believe that there was a reasonable cut out there worth exploring. And if you're a fan like people say they are, you'll take whatever you can get if you like the storyteller, the characters, etc., etc. And what we wanted was the rough cut. Should they have said the rough cut? It didn't matter, because y'all was gonna say whatever you want and argued against it regardless, because you have issues with it at a high toxic way. And hey, I'll give it to you. But here at the Snyder Cut, man, we just want to have fun. We wanted just to see the end of the vision. And yeah, are there trolls in the part of it? Yeah, I'm sure there are. I don't pay attention too much to trolls, because they don't have anything to provide. They don't know what they. If you listen to trolls, half the time they're just saying things to be inflammatory, just to be inflammatory. But that's neither here nor there. We're gonna get into the article about how much Darkseid cost, and let's just see how this one goes out. And this article comes from Gizmodo. Darkseid is costing HBO Max a lot, by James Withbrook, May 27th, 2020, 11 a.m. The Snyder Cut is real? Well, sorta. The version of Zack Snyder's vision for Justice League hitting HBO Max next year is not a fabled, long-awaited, mythical cut fans believed sat untouched in a vault somewhere for years. The cut we're getting has turned into an even grander project than even that, and is coming at quite a cost for Warner. Look how slanted they're already starting off this article. Like, they want to tell you first, it's not this, but this is what it is. Like, clearly, if you're not a supporter of the Snyder Cut, I think it would behoove you to not talk like you knew what you was talking about. But I know what he's saying. He's talking about the new version that Zack Snyder has been talking about now, said that it's even bigger than that. It wasn't a relative cut. It was just rough. We already knew that. No one's the cut was the cut. That's it. No one said it was supposed to be 100%. Neither here nor there. But this is an article clearly by somebody that probably was an anti-Snyder Cut person, or person that was in for the Snyder Cut, or had this attitude about it. There's a lot of people that was funny like that. But in any event, he appears to be flanked by giant armored war crabs. But like war crab mecha, it's a lot, unsurprisingly. Remember, DC Comics Darkseid wasn't in the version we got. We just saw his lackey, Steppenwolf, but now he will be, thanks to a lot of time, hard work, new visual effects, and according to Warner Media chairman Bob Greenblatt, a lot of cash. So even just by reading this article, no amount of success, if this movie comes out, will ever be good enough. Like, it sounds like this person won't like this movie no matter if it was good or not. We already know how you look at it, but this is what I'm getting from reading the article. But let us continue. Like, a lot. Way more than the alleged 30 million previously floated when the news broke last week. Speaking to the Recode Media podcast, Greenblatt discussed not just the speed at which turnaround at Warner went from haha no to what, to actually getting something that could be released as a Snyder Cut into existence. Because despite years of claims and fan hopes, what did exist was not a releasable film. It's been months of discussions with Zack and producers to figure out how to do it, Greenblatt said, with the extensive process. It isn't as easy as going into the vault and there's a Snyder Cut there to put out. It does not exist. Zack is building it, and it's complex. It's a radical rethinking of Justice League, and it's complicated and wildly expensive. Now, this is what I don't like, how it's presented this way, rethinking of Justice League, even though it's quoted. It would make sense if you look at the original Justice, the one that was released as the original vision. So it would be a rethinking of that. But people forget that what Josh Whedon did was a radical rethinking of what Zack Snyder did. That's what we got. But, you know, to literally all of us, 30 million is a monetary value we will happily describe as wildly expensive, but not to Greenblatt. The world of movie making, when asked about the alleged cost of what Snyder and his team are now getting to work on, the chairman's response was brief but telling. I wish it was just 30 million, and I'll stop there. Even as rumors have continued to foment over the existence of a hollowed, completed cut of Justice League as envisioned by Snyder before tragic personal circumstances, why would you present it this, write it like this, even as rumors have continued to foment over the existence of a hallowed, completed cut of Justice League as envisioned by Snyder before tragic personal circumstances caused him to depart production in this year since. It's always been a reality that what did exist was not going to be a completed project. Snyder has always had ideas for what he wanted, of course. He was in the middle of making a movie before terrible circumstances meant that suddenly he was not. The Justice League that will hit HBO Max next year is the effort of him returning to those ideas and what material he had so far, crafting something entirely new and taking the budget of several smaller movies to do it. Why would you say taking the budget of several smaller movies, but it's under the budget of a larger movie? 70 million is a small budget movie, but that's why you have to say several smaller. Why would you present the argument this way? And then it's like you're acting like, and returning to those ideas, he was in the middle of making the movie. No one ever said it was a completed cut. No one ever said that. That's why the only people says a complete cut that can be released never was anyone from the Snyder Cut. No one's ever said that. I dare you to find someone, not someone on Twitter. I'm talking legitimate, like Fiona Zen, if I'm not mistaken, her last name is the head figure that started the release of Snyder Cut movement. Chris Wong from Ping Pong Flicks, Film Junkie Dave, Film Gob. You got several different people, and no one sat here. Rtsc, Lantern. I've never heard any of these guys that was there from the very beginning ever once say that there was 100% cut. They were only trying to pull as much information out as they came along, and over time we found out this was shot way more than we thought. We thought it was less than that in the beginning. No one knew how much of it was done. But again, this is what I said about this, how slanted some of these articles can be. It's like HBO will never say how much this new film cost the company beyond whatever it takes, opening Pandora's box of giving in to years of furious fandom demands. Wow, is a price that likewise currently remains uncalculated. So which furious fandoms? The fandoms that hated Zack Snyder or the fandoms that love his films? You see where it goes, because there was a furious fandom that hated Zack Snyder's movies. I'll be fair, because that's the reason why you guys course corrected. The furious fandom demands. Furious though, I don't think they were furious, but I'll give you that. Because we definitely seen videos of people being furious about hating Zack Snyder Vision, as opposed to these fans furious about not seeing what they loved. But hey, that's just me. Now, we're gonna get into this one part. I think this was a comment, but this is something that I figured that we should just go in on a little bit right here. There is one thing I don't get about the Snyder Cut as a movement. Previous Snyder movies, Man of Steel, Martha v. Martha, Batman v Superman, so we already know how you feel, were met with all sorts of critiques by the fandom, which is true. As in, oh no, Superman is a murderer, or I can't hear the name Martha anymore. Why did you just say that? Why did you say that name? And yet you have the same fans begging for a Snyder Cut of Justice League. I've seen that too, which is weird. The message here feels like, I despise this, can I have some more please? I can respect that. I get that the Justice League film we got fell flat to many, which is funny because when it first came out, people said they liked it. Maybe to the point you'd think anything can be better than that. But let's face it, given Snyder's track record, people seriously don't expect another one of these moments they criticize so much. I could be fair and say I can understand where you're coming from, bro. Because it's still the same director, so when they put this out, are the same people gonna say they hate it now that they got it? I'll be honest with you. Most of the people saying that they hated it were YouTubers that was getting a lot of views for saying how much they hated the movie. Sorry, but this whole situation is ridiculous. Yep, you made a bad film, okay. But let's move on. It's bad in so many ways, right down to the roots, that I don't see how a recut and some added special effects are going to save it. This is pure unadulterated fan whack brought to life. I can see why you think that if you didn't know what the hell you were talking about. Zack Snyder doesn't even know what was in the movie. Everything that people asked him about that he said, he was like, what? No. If you knew anything, most of the Joss Whedon's, the one that Joss Whedon shot was mostly his vision out of what he could pull out of what Zack Snyder had already done, reshaping the movie in a whole other kind of direction. Probably placing around the big action pieces, which would have been the bulk of the money anyway, to weave a story out of it brand new that he could do, that he felt that the fans would like, that's a little bit more Disney in scope or in approach. And that's what he did. And unfortunately it didn't work out. It as it shouldn't, because I mean I wouldn't be surprised if it did it, but it did in the beginning, which is the funny part of it. In the beginning, I remember people saying, yo, I liked it, it's pretty cool. And some people were glad they got rid of Zack Snyder until the story started to unfold and information started to leak out, and then we realized this wasn't his vision, this wasn't his story. He didn't even know what people were talking about when they were quoting certain things. And then as information started to unravel, we started to realize, nah, there was another movie out there that he had put together in an assembly cut, which was the first cut that anybody ever heard about that started the hashtag. After all the frothing about this version and the hubbub about getting to see Darkseid finally, you think they'd actually make him recognizable. I don't know who that is in that image. He looks like Kratos, or the X-Men Origins Wolverine's movie version of Deadpool, or not Darkseid. Really? He doesn't look like Darkseid? So many of Disney characters look nothing like their characters in the comic book. Sometimes you just gotta make alterations, but to be honest, this version of Darkseid doesn't look that far off of something that you would have seen in a fucking video game. Just a different interpretation of it, and why not? Oh my gosh. Look, I actually enjoyed Justice League in spite of itself. But I feel like most of that enjoyment came to scenes that were obviously directed and written by Joss Whedon rather than Snyder. It's perplexing that people think a full Snyder version of this film will somehow be better. I would love to be proven wrong though. I can respect that last part, but how do you know that? I don't know, maybe if you like the ones that Joss Whedon did, cool. I mean, I don't hate that Justice League film. I don't. I like it. And I'm a Snyder Cut fan. I just want to see the Snyder movie. I'm disappointed because I knew that wasn't the movie that Snyder would. Something was. It didn't feel like the movie that I was following. It didn't. From what I understand, it's because the people clamoring for the Snyder Cut actually like Man of Steel and BVS, or at least will die on the hill that they're edgier and more adult than Disney Marvel's Avengers. These people's are fools. Now, this is the part that I don't like. I was cool with you with the, from what I understand, is because the people that are clamoring for the Snyder Cut actually like Man of Steel and BVS. So you're gonna, so what if we like the movie? Then that means that we shouldn't want to see more Snyder movies. Why can't we watch more Snyder movies if we can get it? I don't understand that part. Or at least we'll die on the hill that they're edgier and more adult than Disney Marvel's Avengers. These people are fools because they like edgier, more adult than Disney's Marvel Avengers characters. Really? And this is a person that I'm almost positive never read a comic book, because we have edgier, more adult versions of these characters already. To be honest, a lot of the stories were taken up out of comic books and video game mythology that you all said you liked, which were more edgier and more adult than Disney Marvel's Avengers ever was to begin with. What are we talking about? Look, man, here's what it is. I think the very best thing that DC could do for its movie universe is set behind everything Snyder and start from scratch. I'm all for that. Imagine Taika Waititi's Justice League. Yeah. Anyways, take the successes of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam and give us a version of the Giffen League. Explain why Supes and Bats aren't there off investigating the whole Apocalypse Invasion and the subsequent world's finest film. Bring it all together with a third film of the Apocalypse Invasion. I get where you're coming from with that. I wouldn't do it. Needless to say, this was an interesting article. It wasn't a surprise that that Darkseid was going to cost a lot more money. He's their Thanos. We've seen how long it took to get Thanos up and running and looking as quality as he does. Like I said, this is what they were going to do with the Darkseid anyway. If you don't like his designs, that's cool. If you don't want to see the movie, don't see it. Don't see it. You don't have to watch it. If you want to move past it, don't talk about it. But for those that are fans, we like this. Just like you are fans of what you like. Go like that. And when you guys talk about it, sometimes I'll visit and watch and I enjoy it because we like the same things. It's just that when you talk about this, I'm cool with you not liking it. It's you not reporting it right, the information right. And you creating arguments that never were from a fandom that's just as big fans for Snyder's vision of these characters as you guys are for these visions of a Disney version of it, if you will. Or one with more levity and more, like, I mean, whatever the hell your buzzwords are. If you ask me, I think the only reason why people are wanting this now is because they want a different balance of these characters. Because we've seen Marvel finally ended their version of it. Now DC could come and be their own thing now, instead of always being judged against Marvel films. And I think that's what's always been the issue. You guys love Marvel. I love Marvel films. Why can't DC do something different? And it's in the mythology. We have darker, edgier versions of these characters. Why can't we put those on the screen? I don't know, man. You guys let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you enjoyed these articles that I'm reading, giving you my personal commentary on top of it. And as always, like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a bit of outro. Chill.